Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you pushed, your music career just isn't moving? I mean, you're super talented, that's a given, but something's off. You're stuck. Now, I've been there several times, more than several times. But today, what I'm going to do is break down 4 reasons why most musicians never realize their dreams. Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. Welcome to another exciting episode of the EntreMusician podcast. This is the space where we concentrate on the mindset, discipline, and focus of the EntreMusician. And today's episode, absolutely no exception, because what we're going to do today is we're going to share 4 foundational truths keeping musicians from success and how to fix them right now. I mean, how to fix them today. It won't take 6 months. You can do it today. Now, if you know anything at all about the EntreMusician, you know that even within the first 5 minutes of being exposed to us, we are passionate about mindset, discipline, and focus, right? We understand that a sharpened mindset, discipline, and focus, and by the way, we call that MDF. Our MDF is going to be the thrust that propels us into everything that we need on our journey towards success. You would also know in talking to us that these principles on MDF are spelled out in my best-selling book, The Path of the EntreMusician. 9 keys to unlock your mindset, discipline, and focus. If you don't have it, you should have it as an EntreMusician. But I can tell you today that we're going to weave a lot of these principles into this episode because they go exactly hand in hand. My brother and my sister, my ma'am, sir, my friend, we are going to be absolutely unstuck after this episode. Here's what I would ask of you though. Before we go in, I would ask if you haven't done so, just subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell. That's going to help you know that another episode is up and available. And I'm going to ask you to do something strange. Please push pause. You can do that right now. Okay, you can push pause, call your band members, call your musician friends, call artists that you know, and maybe 1 or 2 of your enemies, and tell them that the EntreMusician is about to go in and do open heart surgery. We are going absolutely deep today. Then also, after you called them and you've pushed play again, you can click on this link and schedule a Zoom call with me so you can find out how best to become a member of the EntreMusician community, especially if you are over the age of 50. Now, I just turned 60, so, we believe that the elders are going to take center stage in just a few moments here, and that's what we're building. So, if you're not 50, come on in too. So let's get right into it, okay? Let's go in. Here is what I believe is the most important truth, the first truth, and the most important, which keeps musicians from success. They don't believe in themselves. Now, most musicians fail before they even begin because deep down, they don't believe that they're worthy of success. Okay, something is going on inside which tells them that, a successful career in music will work for everyone else, but not for them. I can tell you, this is a heart issue. It's really a spiritual dynamic. It's an emotional and somewhat psychological issue which causes this type of person to sabotage any advantages that they see or become involved with. It's something that's really deep down in their subconscious. Now, perhaps, I'm just saying perhaps, it was something that was said to them by a parent or a teacher or another authority figure of some kind. And they said something which embedded self-doubt And that root grew into that person's soul. It grew silently, but it grew steadily. It took hold. And sometimes without even realizing that has happened, this self-doubt, this unbelief pops up, and it exposes that personal misconception that this musician has about themselves, about exactly what they can and cannot accomplish. Now, this person gets to a point where they may be even experiencing a certain level of success. But before you know it, they knock themselves off their own perch because something triggered and they just could not take the next step. I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you can count the hundreds of international artists? And you can name them right now, right? They've gained the entire world, but in the process, they lost their own souls to drugs, to alcohol, some to sexual perversion, some because of violent behavior. They've lost their souls. Now, these people were not comfortable in their own skin. They needed something else to help them live through what they felt was an illusion because they did not truly believe in themselves or in the situations that they were in. Okay? Now, I'm going to say this in case you might misunderstand. Well, Jerry's just pointing fingers at the flaws of others. I need to share very openly and transparently that I too, once upon a time, suffered from this very same situational hazard. Yeah, my formative years, I shut the door on myself. I didn't need anybody else to shut the door on me, right? It was Jerry doing it. I did not take advantage of opportunities and the doors which did open for me and I was able to walk into. Many times I did not stay in the room long because I didn't feel that I was worthy to be there. That's just the truth. I felt like I didn't measure up somehow, that I was like out of my league. And even when I had been invited into the room, I felt, well, that person really doesn't know me and I shouldn't be here. So I would find a way to get out of it. Another interesting thing about my childhood, I guess, since this is confession time, is I picked up subconsciously, a negative view about earning money as a musician. Not because I didn't have the desire or I didn't have this aspiration or the ambition or the ability. I want you to understand this, to really go and do this big time. But I was told and I felt in the surroundings, in the atmosphere, in the environment was, music is really not a real job. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't real work. Music and a career in music was a fantasy that only happened to the very, very gifted and special. But as far as me, as far as Jerry is concerned, you know what, bro? You need to come back down to earth and stay in your lane. And if this wasn't bad enough, you think that's bad. We went to a church and we were involved again in a community, and some members of my family pretty much had a prejudice toward wealth itself and building wealth. And they had a prejudice toward those who earned a lot of money following their dreams. I would hear the scriptures all the time. The love of money is the root of all evil. And it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich person to enter into the kingdom of heaven. I'd hear those scriptures woven into me, keep us right here in the box, right? But these scriptures were taken completely out of context. These scriptures that were preached to us was really about greed. Greed. They were not about earning a great living, a truthful, honest living, doing exactly what you were put on this earth to do. Now, some people are carpenters. Some people are doctors. Some people are plumbers. Some people are electricians. You are a musician. I am a musician. And doing the work of a musician is honest and pure and great. But that's not what I got. And that's why in writing this book, I put believe as key number 2. And I wrote this chapter specifically as a testimony to myself. Okay? I, I what I grew out of, because I had this thinking that was really stinking thinking. Okay, it was terrible, and I had to grow out of this toxic teaching to the truth of who I am and why I'm really here. See, it's a mindset shift for the EntreMusician. No matter how that mindset is, you can turn it, you can shift it, and you can begin to believe in yourself. And you have to believe in yourself before anyone else will. Okay? Because if you don't do it, if you don't make the shift, in every opportunity, every fan, every success, every event will feel like, well, that was an accident or that was a fluke and it just happened. And then you'll let it slip by the wayside. You have to know that you as a person, you, my friend, as a human, you have tremendous value and worth. That you have been made in the image of the Almighty God. You have tremendous possibilities that are yours. They're yours to explore. There's yours to express and discover and hone and build upon, and then obviously to share them with others. This is why discipline and focus are very, very helpful, even sometimes when your mindset is not as sharp or as steady as it should be. You have to work hard every day. Listen, you have to really convince yourself that you are who you are becoming. Did you hear that? You have to convince yourself that you are who you are becoming. Just to make sure that you heard what I said, here's something that you can do today. You can do this immediately. And again, you can pause this video if you want to, and you can take out your device, or if you're old school, then you can grab a sheet of paper and a pencil. And what I want you to do right now is to make a list of 10 reasons that you are the musician you dream of becoming. Why? This is going underneath the surface. Why do you deserve what you desire? Give yourself 10 reasons that you are indeed that musician. Now, for me personally, I use affirmation cards. Not everybody does, but I use affirmation cards. And I've written these cards down, and I repeat them to myself. And then I've also made a recording on my phone of me reading these cards. So when I'm working out at the gym, or I'm doing something, I'm in the car, I can listen to what I've said to myself. I also repeat these during my prayer time, and so I'm constantly convincing myself that, and I'm watching in the rearview mirror, I'm watching this unfold. Okay. Now here's what you do. If you're going to use affirmation cards, if you're going to make this list, don't leave a thing out. From the smallest little victory, like I just earned 100 followers on Spotify, or it could be the biggest thing, like, I just sold out the largest club in my town. Whatever it is, celebrate it and get it into your heart, get it into your psyche that by God's grace, you are on the journey that you should be on. You can do that right now. Now, the second foundational truth as to why most musicians don't realize their dreams is because most musicians put their talent first. Now, immediately you may think that this second truth negates the first one on musicians not believing in themselves. But that's why I want to handle this right now with you, because it does not negate the first truth. There are no contradictions whatsoever. What I wish to offer here is that these two truths are actually two sides of the same coin. And I'm going to slow down my pace and just take the time to explain the intricate aspects of what this all really means. See, most musicians tend to magnify their talent, their God-given abilities, over who they are. And they put their talent on Front Street and simultaneously hide behind them. You understand what I mean? Now, remember, we talked about there perhaps was someone in your formative years who may have said something to you or about you which introduced self-doubt into your spirit. Or perhaps simultaneously that same person or perhaps someone else saw your natural talent, and in their efforts to encourage you, all they did was rave about you. Oh, my baby show can play them drums. My granddaughter, she's excellent. She can really sing. Or Scooter, my nephew over there, can play that trumpet just like Dizzy Gillespie. And they just pound it on you. And you absorb it, of course, right? Right? And maybe over time, you begin to believe your own press. So you form the habit of putting your talent before everything else. Your talent becomes your identity. Your talent is your default. And you use it to rescue you, save you in awkward moments or anxious or crisis situations. You got that talent that you can fall on. Perhaps you know of musicians who manipulate others with their talents. I've seen this many times in bands, right? She's the most talented musician, and so she pushes her weight around because she knows she can carry the band if things get tight on stage. Or perhaps most of the audience is actually coming to see her. Dig it? But developing these unhealthy habits, they cause you to ignore the very important aspects of your life off stage and out of the limelight. Because listen, talent alone won't save you. It's not going to do it. It's been said that talent alone is overrated. Yes, you absolutely need skill, definitely. But if talent alone was the deciding factor, some of the best musicians in the world wouldn't be flat broke while the mediocre ones sell out stadiums. Right? Now, here's another dimension of putting your talent first. And it's sad, but it's also true. And let me say on the front end, I mean no disrespect, because everything I'm sharing is public knowledge. You already know this information. I'm sure you're already aware of the very tragic death of R&B super singer Angie Stone. Her death, as of this video airing, is about 2 weeks now. I was stunned, like you, by the news, and I do what I normally do. And when I hear news of death, I tend to migrate toward footage that I can find out more. I watch other videos and documentaries just to kind of, feel closer to the artist and memorialize them. That's my process. So as I was doing that, I stumbled upon an Instagram Live, which she had posted back during the holiday season of 2024. She was sharing that she had an illness that she had overcome. And then she also shared that MCA Universal, her record company, and some of the people on her team had defrauded her out of some serious cash. And she was owed much, much money in back royalties. Now, again, this is public knowledge. This is what she said. And this dear sister also went on to say that in the 50 years she had been in the business, there was no money to retire on. She also stated that she had trusted these people with her royalties, and as an artist, she didn't involve herself so much in the business end because she trusted her team to do that part of the work. And as a result, they took advantage of her. Now, again, I mean, no disrespect. My heart goes out to her family. I was really pained in listening to this, not only of her tragic passing, but to know that in her life, in her career, she was an artist who had put her talent first. She said in 50 years of professional work. You got to ask yourself, 50 years, how much time did she avail herself to learn the business side of what was going on? Now, I don't know the answer to that. I don't pretend to know, but I know that she confessed that she didn't have enough money to retire on. And this, my friend, happens far too often in our industry. See, there is zero excuse for any musician, artist, or producer to not know exactly what's going on in their career at any given moment. Because no matter how far you get, no matter how high you climb, your talent alone is not going to rescue you. Right? Another example is of musicians who are putting their talent first is the contrast of those who are not very talented, but they get out there and they hustle. They look for every opportunity, every gig, and they just give it their all. And then on the other side, you have the ones who have a high level of talent, but they kind of rest on their laurels and phone it in. But within this attitude is a dysfunctional ethical and spiritual component, because this musician will soon find out that their high level of talent is not going to save them. There's a popular quote, and I don't know who said it. It's not original to me, but it says, "Don't let your talent take you where your character can't keep you." In other words, your talent will only take you so far. If you have a tendency to lie or cheat, or are constantly late to rehearsals and gigs, or are a no-show, then people are eventually going to realize that your wonderful talent is a major liability and will no longer be interested in working with you. Keys number 7 and 9 in my book address this appropriately. Key number 7 is give. Immediately. When you employ a spirit of giving, it takes the focus off of you. It takes the focus off of your talents and your abilities, your worth, and it causes you to focus on the needs of others and become a solution to them and for them. Most musicians who put their talents first are myopic and sometimes selfish. But again, developing a generous spirit increases your focus. It doesn't matter what you give either. It could be an older piece of gear to a young musician. It could be a lesson. It could be a resource or a piece of well-needed advice. It could be a hug or a smile. You always have something to give someone else to brighten up their day. Key number 9 is the key of gratefulness. A grateful heart opens up the world to you. You realize that there is a greater dynamic at work which is larger than yourself. Being grateful for your talent provides the healthiest perspective, because you acknowledge that your talent is actually a gift. Your talent is given to you to share with others, and once you have that on lockdown, watch how fast your career explodes. The MDF application here is focus. So when you focus, you look for opportunities which you can create for others. You look into methods of expanding your artistry and causes which are bigger than your music. In other words, you become a musical philanthropist. Now, here's some things that you can work on right now. First of all, if there are any personal unhealthy characteristics which you know are holding you back, you do the serious work of changing them. Number 2, you learn as much as you can about this music industry. You learn it and you make a commitment towards being responsible for your career. Even if you have a manager or a team, hold regular meetings with them to learn and know what's happening with your career on a regular basis. You also seek more ways to become a grateful, generous giver. And you can also join the EntreMusician, where you know you have access to a wonderful community who will help you develop your entrepreneurial skills and match them with your talent. The third hardcore foundational truth keeping musicians from success is that most musicians are people pleasers. Are you beginning to see a pattern here? If not, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there is a pattern. Listen, my friend, I want you to understand that you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve your art and other people's opinion of your art. Now, chances are, it's about 99.9% that you have something that is original to you, right? It's truthfully yours, it's unique, it's your approach, it's your sound, and it's yours. It's authentically you. Yet, you may be listening to the advice or instruction or opinion of others, which kind of conform you into their idea of who you are, rather than your own expression of yourself. And I can't help but think of the truly many great artists who are so incredibly unique that no one else touches them, right? They, even when they leave the planet, their music stands as a monument to their personality, their spirit, their heart. Now, how many of those musicians can you name? Conversely, you can turn it around and name an artist who came out strong but somehow turned a corner and caved into a trend or a statement which was not uniquely theirs. And along the way, they lost what could have been a legacy of greatness. Happens all the time. See, you have to learn to trust your instincts. The world doesn't need another copy. The world needs you. And of course, the MDF application is the same as it was before. Focus, because when we talk about focus, we mean we're drowning out all distractions, especially those of critics. Now, let me be crystal clear here. Either you have it or you don't, right? Either you are skilled at what you do or you're not. And if you're not, you got to improve. But for the most part, music is absolutely subjective. And when most musicians are using this method to make their music, don't be afraid to use that, right? When they're saying, yo, this is what's hot right now, you can just go ahead on up, splash some water on it, and stand out. Don't be afraid ever to make your own statement and stick to it. Remember, they may not like what you're doing. They may hate it even. But if you get a foothold on it, they're going to have to respect you. Go ahead, create your own genre of music. Now, there's a brother I watch a lot on YouTube. His name is Myron Golden, real deep cat. He made a statement once, and I absolutely love it. He said, if you chase the people, they're going to run from you. But if you run from the people, eventually they'll be chasing you, right? If you find out that you are indeed a people pleaser, here's something you can do right now to cure it. Cure it. Ask yourself, what's the one thing that you've been doing because others expect you to do so? And ask yourself realistically, well, who are these people who are expecting this of me? And how much of their advice do I value? And why do I value it? Are there suggestions in line with who I really am? Are there suggestions in line with why I really am? And if they're not, then just cut it completely out. That's it. Now, one more thing before we move on to number 4. And we could have actually created a category of its own for that particular truth, but we'll hit it right now and we'll quit it. Because most musicians allow others to define their success. Most musicians would rather chase someone else's dream for them than chase their own. Now, this has happened and it's very serious because there are many artists whom you know who achieved what the world defined as success, but they were so unfulfilled that they took their own lives. Like the limelight, the cash, the cars, the trappings, the homes, they meant nothing. This is how serious this actually is. See, the EntreMusician shift is you must look inward and you must define what success is for you. Is success 1 million streams on Spotify? Perhaps. Is it the amount of gigs you get within a year or how lucrative they are? Perhaps. Is it ownership of your work? Is it creative freedom? Or is it time to spend with the family and people you love more than anything else? It's your decision. You have to decide that. The MDF application here is discipline. Discipline means staying on your course, not somebody else's course. So do this now. Right now. Write your own definition of success. Tape it up, staple it somewhere visible. Like I said before, I used affirmation cards, but measure yourself against your definition and not someone else's metrics. Finally, the 4th foundational truth keeping musicians from success is that most musicians don't value their time. And this is a personal pet peeve for me, so I'm going to try to be cool as I explain, but I think you already know, right? Time is our most valuable currency. We have to ask ourselves constantly, am I investing my time or am I wasting it? You can always make more money. You've heard that before, but you can never make more time. And I'm sure you see it far too often. I know I do. And the older I get, the more I speak up on it. because musicians are just wasting their precious, valuable time. The Bible calls our lives like vapor. It's just like boom. So everything is important. But too many musicians are late for rehearsals, late for recording sessions, late for auditions, late for gigs. They walk into the studio just to make a call to tell someone that they're trying to impress that I'm in the studio. Come on. They take selfies and post them on IG instead of warming up for the session or being engaged in the work. A lot of them do not utilize a planner or a scheduling system, so they frequently overbook themselves, or worse than that. There are just as many who waste their time chasing unpaid gigs instead of improving their craft and booking performances, which will propel them into the future. Now, unless I give the impression that I'm being mean and rude, I'm not being unfair, or I just don't understand. Listen, I want to confess again that at one point I was a hybrid of each one of these musicians. Like the old song says, once I was blind, but now I see. And once I saw the light, I became obsessed with this. My time is tied into my professionalism. If I don't respect my time, no one else will either. And if I don't respect theirs, I'm doing them a disservice. Is that serious? Be ultra serious about your time. Be ultra professional. Time check everything. The EntreMusician shift is this: learn to manage your time like a CEO. Give your energy only to things that are going to build your future. That means learning to say no. And I mean practice saying no. Even the good things. Don't participate. No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Some people are going to get angry. Some people are not going to understand. Why didn't you hang out with us? Why weren't you down at the b-ball court? Why didn't you? You know why? Because I needed those 3 hours to sharpen me. I needed to sharpen my skills. I needed to improve my music, to clean up my mixes, to go over this contract, to search out another collaborative opportunity. I needed to contact this venue owner. I needed to speak with this festival organizer. I needed to attend this webinar. So, this is what it is. And if I invest my time now, then I'll have more flexibility in other ways later. Only do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. That's the MDF principle and application of discipline. And here's something you can do now. Audit your last week. Find out, where did your time actually go? Did it help or hurt? Make adjustments accordingly. Now, before we get out of here, let's recap these 4 foundational truths keeping most musicians from success. Number 1, most musicians don't believe in themselves. To improve immediately, create a list of 10 reasons that you are the musician you're becoming. As I said before, I utilize affirmation cards. You do what works for you to help put your mindset on the right track. Number 2, most musicians put their talent first. Remember, talent is overrated. You do need skill, but talent alone is not the deciding factor. You've got to put skin in the game. And if this is you, overcome this error and do it now. Learn something about the music industry that you don't know. Take responsibility for your career. Also, check your spirit if there's a character flaw that you know needs improving. Work that out, and do it now. Number 3, most musicians are people pleasers. If that's you, let's just cut it to the quick. Stop being a people pleaser. Be authentic to you. Do you, be you, and only you. Take a stand and make your mark. Number 4, most musicians don't value their time. If this is you, change the game right now. Be ultra serious. Audit yourself. Buy a planner and schedule every single moment of your life. You think I'm joking, don't you? I'm not joking. Now, I'm going to confess something to you here. There are far more than these 4 truths which I shared with you. I can name about 10 more, and I may do so in the future. But if you get these 4 down and you stand firm on these, you will see how easy it is to pivot into these other truths that are out there so that you can move closer to your goal of success, your definition of success in this industry. So that's it for today. But let me ask you, which one of these truths hit you the hardest? Would you drop a comment below and we can dialogue about it? I would love to know what resonated with you the most. And also, click this link to join me on a Zoom call so I can find out more about you. You can ask more questions about the EntreMusician community, which is wonderful. And I know that it's going to be an organic experience that helps to build you into the EntreMusician you already are. Like, subscribe, share this video if it helped. Tell 10 people you know, tell 12 people you don't know that this was really open heart surgery and we got down in it, and let them know how much you enjoyed it. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, but here's what's most important. So are you. We will see you again next time. God bless.